Okay, we'll call this special called meeting to order. I've got some things here to read. Pursuant to Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order Number 16, governing bodies are permitted to meet and conduct essential business by electronic means as is necessary. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the City of Livingston, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen hereby announced the following meeting. Of course, that's tonight. The special called meeting, this meeting will be held teleconference call with the board members and the press being granted access to the conference call. The audio of the meeting will be live streamed to the City of Livingston's website at www.cityoflivingston.net, where the public will have access to the live electronic meeting. The audio recording of the meeting will be maintained and will be available on the City of Livingston's website. Again, that's www.cityoflivingston.net. The agenda for this special called meeting is to address whether or not action should be taken to delay and or postpone the City of Livingston's 2020 election, which is currently scheduled. Yes.
This is Kelly Coleman. I'm on the call.
Okay, thank you. The agenda for the special called meeting is to address whether or not action should be taken to delay and postpone the City's of Livingston's 2020 election, which is currently scheduled for June 3rd, 2020, until the date of the county election scheduled for August of 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Ms. Phyllis Looper is present and will take roll call by name and announce all of those participating directly in the meeting. All speakers, including the alderman, will announce their name each time before they speak. All votes at the meeting will be a roll call vote. Minutes of this meeting will be posted on the City of Livingston's website at www.cityoflivingston.net. The City of Livingston's priority is preserving a means of public access to meetings while taking the necessary precaution and exercising social distancing measures to ensure the safety of our citizens. So with that being said, Ms. Phyllis, if you'll call roll, please.
Alderman Speck.
Alderman Christian Beck present.
Alderman Coleman.
Alderman Coleman present.
Alderman Dishman.
Alderman Dishman present.
Alderman Langford.
Alderman Langford present.
Alderman Dale.
Alderman Dale present.
Vice Mayor Dotson.
Vice Mayor Dodson present.
All present.
Okay, we're all present, and as I read, we're here during a special call meeting. There can only be one thing on this agenda, and this agenda is with the item on it of the city election, municipal election that is coming up in June. And I'm going to turn this over to John Meadows. John and I met with the Election Commission, and he's done some background on this and done a little investigation. So, John, just let me turn it over to you and let you do some talking, please.
Okay, can they hear me through this recorded microphone?
John? Not very good. No. Okay, hold on just a minute. Give me a test.
Test. Can you hear me now?
No. Is that any better? Okay. John, come sit with me.
Good afternoon, Alderman. Mayor Hayes and I met with the Election Commission about a week and a half ago. They had a meeting, and the purpose of that meeting was to address whether or not the Election Commission should take steps to try and delay or postpone the city election to ensure the safety of the public because of this issues going on with the COVID-19 pandemic. Since that time, and a little bit prior to that, knowing that discussion, was on the table, or there had been some talk about whether or not the election could be extended, I got involved. I called the assistant coordinator of elections in Nashville and started looking into this. As it stands right now, the city charter specifies when the city election is to be held. And that this year, that will be on June the 3rd of 2020, and it's documented in our charter, establishes when that election is to be held, I think the first Wednesday in June of each year. Since this is a city election that's mandated, called for in our city charter, the state really does not have any control or authority over that election. In order for the election day to be postponed or delayed, it's going to take an action in the Chancery Court brought either by the Election Commission or the city, or both could petition the court to seek a court order to move the election. So the only way that election date of June 3rd, 2020 gets moved is pursuant to a court order. And the Election Commission, I think they had voted the last time to do what they need to do in order to delay the election until the August election when the county is having their election. And, I advise them and the mayor that I'm the city attorney and I can only act if the city authorizes me to take action on behalf of the city. So I think that was the purpose of this meeting tonight, was to discuss the city's position with respect to whether or not the city election should be postponed until a date in August when the county election is being held.
Thank you, John. Also today, I just want to, so the decision basically is up to the Board of Aldermen whether you want to have the election as scheduled or move it to August. I wanted to share with you today, Governor Bill Lee announced the order for Tennesseans to remain at home will expire April the 30th, with the vast majority of businesses in 89 counties allowed to reopen on May 1st. His quote is, "Our economic recovery group is working with industry leaders around the clock so that some businesses can open as soon as Monday, April 27th, said Governor Lee. These businesses will open according to the specific guidance that will provide in accordance with the state and national experts in both medicine and business. The Lee administration will work with Shelby, Madison, Davison, Hamilton, Knox, and Sullivan counties and their health departments as they plan their own reopen strategies. While I'm not extending the safer at home orders past the end of April, we are working directly with our major metropolitan areas to ensure that they are in a positive to reopen as soon as and safely as possible," said Lee. "Social distancing works, and as we open up our economy, it will be more important than ever that we keep social distance as lives and livelihoods depend on it." The Economic Recovery Group, composed of 30 leaders from the public and private sectors, crafting guidance and assist business in a safe reopening. The industry representatives participated. ERG collected by President over 140,000 Tennessee businesses that employ over 2.5 million Tennesseans. For more information on that, you can go to ERG, and it is available. Also, so I just wanted you to have that information. Also, according to the governor's website, state parks will be reopened on April the 24th. So the state parks will be open on April the 24th. So that's what I have. Anyone want to have any discussion on this? It's certainly open.
Mayor, I have a couple of questions. This is Alderman Coleman.
Okay.
How many candidates do we have for the for your seat, the mayor's seat?
There's only want me.
Okay.
I'm unopposed at this time.
How many open seats do we have, just to clarify for the public, for alderman?
There is 3 seats open and 4 candidates for 3 spots.
Okay, so we have a total of 4 candidates.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, and in the county, Overton County, are we still sitting at around 7 cases of the COVID? Is that about accurate?
Yeah, I just got out of a meeting with the Overton County Health Department and other leaders of the community, and we are at 7.
Okay. All right. That's the only question I had at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Does any other board members have questions? Any questions for Mr. Meadows or myself?
Curtis, this is Alderman Dishman. I've not got a question. I've just got a couple of comments in reference to this situation. And I was monitoring where Governor Lee had said to open up, try to get the economy going back, and that's good for the businesses and our local business, even at that, too. I am concerned with the election because of the nursing home not being able, the residents there that are allowed to vote not being able to vote at this time. And, I've got precaution and safety factor on our election commission and Craig and the workers that's going to be working it. We still got a safety factor, even though that we are opening it back up, and there's going to be barriers, 6-foot barriers and so forth that they've said. So without further ado, I'm just going to make a motion that it's postponed till August. I believe that citizens and taxpayers and voters of Livingston that are able to will completely understand, and that's my thought. So I'm going to make a motion that it is postponed till the August election.
Okay, there was a motion made by Alderman Dishman to postpone the municipal election to the August date set forth by the Overton County Election Commission. Is there a second?
I'm Alderman Langford, and I'll second his motion.
Alderman Langford seconds his motion. Any discussion?
This is Alderman Coleman. I have a question for John Meadows. John, what do you think it would cost the city to file this lawsuit to change the charter? And would that be a temporary change or a permanent change? How long would it take the court to make a decision on this, et cetera? Can you explain that process?
A petition would be filed in Chancery. As far as the expense to the city, the legal expense, that's something that I would take care as part of my city attorney duties. I don't, I'm aware that there's 3 other, Livingston is one of 3 cities that I think that are addressing this issue. The city of Loretto recently petitioned their court, and all the parties to that proceeding were in agreement and basically executed an agreed order agreeing for the election to be extended. And then I'm aware that the city of Lafayette is in the process of doing the same thing. So I wouldn't imagine there being a great expense to the city in getting this accomplished unless one of the necessary parties. Now, I think the Election Commission, but the county as well as the city are parties to that proceeding. However, all the candidates that have already qualified would also be entitled to notice of that. That's my opinion, and so I think either one of them would have the standing to object to the election being postponed. If all of them are also in agreement, then like the city of Loretto, I believe we could do an agreed order and get that presented to the judge and deal with it that way.
Hypothetically, if one of the candidates or multiple of the candidates were to object, what happens at that? What's the course of action in that situation, John?
We would have to have a hearing and present our arguments to the chancellor and let the judge make a decision. And of course, anyone that objected would have an opportunity to present their side as well, and then the judge would ultimately make a decision.
Aware of any other cities or municipalities that are continuing on with their scheduled elections? You mentioned 3 that we're one of 3 that's considering changing, but are you aware of the flip of that?
I'm not aware of any. I mean, there may be others that are going forward, but I'm not aware of it.
Now, John, I was thinking you were saying there was one that was going to happen in June. Is that correct? Did I misunderstand? No,
that's correct. The city of Loretto had an election that was scheduled, I think, sometime in the month of April, and they filed a petition and an order was entered to move their election to, I believe they moved theirs to the June 18th date. I'm aware that the city of Lafayette, I believe, is in the process of attempting to move theirs, but I'm not sure when they are seeking to move it to.
Is there any other questions for myself or Mr. Meadows?
Mayor, this is Vice Mayor Dodson. In either circumstance, all voters would have the option of doing mail-in balloting as well, or is that only for certain individuals, or how does that work?
Now, so, Ken, I'm not for sure that Tennessee has granted permission for any elections to be a mail-in ballot, other than under the special provisions, I think, that medical provisions or something like that. I can't get into that because I don't know. I think in the past there's been that. John, I don't know any other. I don't think the state has took that step yet. Is that wrong, or is it?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it from that perspective. I mean, that's something I'll be glad to look into if you want me to, but I'm not familiar. I'm not prepared to answer that at this time.
Watson, this is Alderman Coleman. Were you referring to absentee ballots?
Actually, both. I was referring to either or both. I didn't understand exactly if there was the mail-in option or not.
Okay.
Alderman Coleman and Vice Mayor Dodson, this is Alderman Dishman. The way I understand it from the election commissioner, Craig's story, and y'all clarify with him, the nursing home would not allow, the patients wouldn't be allowed to mail in theirs. There's some kind of stipulation there. I'm not a professional to know what that is, but they wouldn't be allowed to do that. So otherwise, they wouldn't be allowed to vote unless they opened it up to where that they could go into the nursing home and vote the residents there. So just so y'all know that.
But does that assume that we're still in lockdown, or do you know?
Alderman Coleman, the way I understand is yes, that if they're in lockdown, if, the way I understand it is they're not allowed to mail their votes in at all at this time. They have to go over there and vote them. A register does.
Right.
Now, that's the way that I understood it, Alderman Coleman.
Right.
Yeah, hey, so I think that according to the nursing home, they're not going to be voting, period, whether the election is going to be in June and or August, unless there's a major breakthrough. I've been meeting every week with some of the leaders, and Miss Jennifer Bolden is one, and of course right now they're closed to the public, period, no questions about that. And even though the governor is going to open it back up, according to the meeting that I was into today, Livingston Regional Hospital will still be closed to the public for visitors, not closed for business, but closed for visitors, and also the nursing home. I don't see that this April 27th or April 30th date is going to open it up for them. Now, again, that is what I have understood, but now we all know things can change, okay?
For clarifying, I certainly don't understand why somebody there couldn't absentee vote if there's an election, but that's outside my area of expertise for sure.
Okay, is there any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. So voting for the motion would move the election till August. I think it was the 6th, John.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's August 6th. So, but that is what the election committee voted on. So we'll call for a roll call, Ms. Phyllis.
Alderman Speck,
Alderman Speck. Mayor,
Yes.
this Alderman Lund, have Phyllis to speak real loud because I can't hear her.
Okay. All right.
Alderman Coleman, Alderman Dishman,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Dale,
Alderman Dale, yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
No. Vice Mayor Dodson, no.
the vote's tied.
So we have a tie vote.
Yes.
I'm gonna vote no and the election will go as scheduled. According to the governor, he's wanting the economy and wanting folks to go back to work. And if the election commission needs any extra help from the city, we'll be able to provide gloves, we'll be able to provide safety glasses, and be able to put tape down on the floor to stay with the 6-foot rule. Okay, that is the meeting, and there's nothing else on the agenda, so we need a motion to adjourn.
Alderman Coleman makes a motion to adjourn.
A motion made by Alderman Coleman. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Vice Mayor Dodson, second.
Okay, all for the motion, let it know. Roll call vote on the adjournment.
Alderman Speck,
Alderman Speck, adjourn.
Alderman Coleman,
Adjourn.
Alderman Dishman,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Dale,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
Yes.
motion passed.